This is actually that header piece that I'm going to use for trim. Its dimensions are 1x6, but the thing is they say 1x6, but it's actually 5.5 inches. Now, when you hold this up, this is kind of overwhelming. It's really big, and it's going to take up some of the space on this top shelf here. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to run it through my saw, bump it down to 4.5 inches. The other thing I'm going to do is that extra piece, that extra inch that I cut off, I'll show you what I'm going to do with that. It's going to sit up top just like we have here. I'm going to mark off where I need to make that angular cut so that I can connect the next trim piece. And I'm going to put that mark right here where the trim piece is up against the sides of the billy shelves. Here's that cap piece that I'm going to throw up here. I'm just going to hit this with a nail gun. Try to make it look nice and straight. Next up, I'm going to get some trim pieces to run up and down my sides here. And I'm going to put a total of 6 of them to finish this out. And so those pieces are going to be 1x3s. I think the actual measurement is like a 1x2.5. So as you can see, I trimmed the wood down so it's not too tall to where it'll hit the ceiling. I can fit it in here. And now I can just mark it off with a pencil and get the exact length that I need. The other thing I'm doing is I'm numbering these because, you know, each of them are going to be slightly different. Pieces fit pretty good here. So you can see that one's snug enough to where it just kind of fits on in. I haven't nailed them down. This one looks pretty good here on the side. I'll be able to caulk to fill in the gap there along the drywall, but I did get a curveball thrown at me here on the right side. Got a pretty big gap there at the top, so much so that I can't fill that in with caulk. I'm using the same technique that I used on the baseboard to mark it, and I'm probably going to be cutting into it here along here in order to bring this piece of trim over more. Now, I'm not going to try to make it perfect. I'm just trying to bring it over just enough so that I can fill in the gap up there with caulk. And same thing at the bottom. So I just want to bring it in a little closer. So really I just got to focus here in the center. But like I said, I'll get it marked up using the same technique I used for that bottom trim. So I forgot to video it, but I put the vertical trim up, and essentially all I did is I just made sure that I centered it on those side pieces of the billy shelves, and then put my level, make sure it was level vertically, and then just hit it with a nail gun. And that's how I got them on there. Now I'm just going through and tapping in the nails if they need it. Some of them aren't deep enough. I want it deep enough so that I can put a little bit of spackling over it. Okay, to spackle these, I'm actually using this Fast and Final lightweight spackling. This is the first time I actually used this. Typically I get the spackling that's in a tub. And when you take that standard spackling and you stick it in a hole, you have to come back and do it again because it shrinks, it like sucks in, you got a little indentation. So if you want it to be nice and smooth, you don't want to see any of the holes, you actually have to do it twice. But this stuff right here, it's pretty good. Like I've already used it in other spots, so I'll show you down here. So right here, it actually, instead of sucking in, it kind of bumped up. So you could just lightly sand it, and it's good to go. I only have to do this once. Also, it has a putty knife at the end of it, so you can just squeeze it out and then, you know, use that. I like a standard putty knife because I want to make sure I work the stuff in there, but this is good enough if you don't have a standard putty knife. So I'll show you how this works. So you pop that off here and just squeeze it. Oops. Just put it on the hole and voila. The spots other than the nail holes where we got larger gaps, I got some wood filler here. And it says that it is resistant to shrinking and cracking. I'm going to give this a try. Can't tell you if it's going to work or not, but at least it will fill this in and make it look more seamless, even if it does have like gets a hairline crack in it. Okay, this stuff is really hard to get out. Never mind. We'll work that in there and get rid of the excess. After kind of smoothing it out and then using a wet paper towel, that's what it looks like now. So my wood filler and spackling have had a chance to dry, so I'm just going through and sanding this whole thing down. The wood filler is a little bit more difficult. It's got some really good bonding. The spackling comes off really quickly though. So I got the sanding all done. Just want to show you this main joint here where I put the wood filler and cleaned up pretty nicely. And so there's the spackling there. Kind of hard to, well, yeah, they can see it right there, but it's nice and smooth. That's the thing, if there's any variations in the surface, you'll see that once you paint it. So next up, I'm going to do the caulking. I just happen to have some like window caulk left over from my window install, and I'm going to use that. And all I'm doing is I'm just doing the perimeter, so the walls and the ceiling. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use my finger, spread it out, and then use a wet rag to wipe it, because I just want to fill in the gap there along the wall and the ceilings. So as you can see there, I just want to fill in that gap. So really not much caulk there at all. I got the tape on it because I'm prepping to paint. Because any of you who ever use painter's tape knows that paint still kind of bleeds through. So if you want nice, sharp lines, a technique to do that is to take a very, very tiny bead of caulk, run it through, run it with your finger, wash it off. But what it does is it pushes that caulk and all those little gaps in the tape, and that way you'll have nice, clean lines. But to fill those gaps, and that's too much, I'm just I got the camera in one hand, but you'll see that I'm going to really spread this out, and I'm just going to fill all the little gaps. Like that's too much. It's not even. See, as you can see, I've just really spread it out, and I'll take a rag over it. I mean, you can just kind of get that stuff off there. You're just filling in the gaps. So just like that. I'll do that all the way around. It shouldn't take long. So I do want to talk about the type of paint I picked and the color. Our baseboard, the color that we have on our baseboard, that shade of white, does not match the Billy shelf white. So what I did is I took a shelf into Lowe's and I had them match the color. The paint that I'm going with is this door and trim. And what makes this special and unique is that it has urethane in it. So it kind of gives it that shell coating that provides some protection. I went ahead and painted the trim at the top. I'm going ahead and pulling the painter's tape off above that. The reason for that is because you don't want the paint to cure, because it'll pull right off when you pull the painter's tape off. Go ahead and do that now. And then I'll move on to the side trim. But you can see how crisp that is after I put that caulk there. Here is the final product on this library wall. Have all the shelves stacked up with books and different things from around the house. So it's made for a nice spot to store some things. Got the TV there in the center. Really adds a lot of character to this room, and been kind of a nice spot to come in here and relax and watch some TV. For the do-it-yourselfers out there, you definitely can tackle this. And then if you don't have much experience, but you have some ambition, I'd say give this a shot. You can totally pull this off. Thanks for watching. God bless.